Let me talk about fact checking, because this is what the leftists have been doing in social media to try to suppress conservatives. Fact checking is a vehicle for the left to suppress conservative views, points, and authority that they don't like. It's exactly what Judicial Watch has suffered from this fake fact checking assault repeatedly over the years. We do a story, for instance, and they say, well, who are your sources? And we say, you can't have your source. You can't have our sources. And so what do they say? It's false, because we can't fact check their story, which is sort of garbage. No other journalist entity is supposed to give up their sources in order to avoid being mislabeled as false. If you got different facts, or you want to challenge facts, challenge them. It's a free society, or at least it ought to be. But the left is using, and their media allies who pretend to be in favor of the First Amendment, they're really not. They're using these fact checkers, which are largely, almost universally left-leaning media organizations and fronts, to target conservatives. And now they're targeting Donald Trump. Twitter is using CNN and the Washington Post, which are anti-Trump advocacy groups. Notice I didn't call them journalists. They sometimes do journalism, that's for sure, but they're advocacy groups. So in response to this growing problem, I mean, I know I was shadow banned on Twitter. How does shadow banning mean? It means that if you type in, let's say, my name, there's no suggestion. There was at one point no suggestion. There's an autofill. If you do a search, my name wasn't popping up. I'm a public figure. I'm a prominent person, at least within certain circles. None of us are as important as we think, aren't we? But certainly if you type in the word Tom Fitton, you think my name would pop up, and it wasn't. And so were other conservatives, including members of Congress. This was happening a few years ago. This is 2018, I think it happened. President of the United States is tweeting out my material, and I'm being shadow banned. Meaning if you went to look for me, you couldn't find me on Twitter. The good news is it doesn't work. And this is why the media is so desperate to shut us down. This week, my account, my personal account, has passed 1 million followers. I have 1 million followers on Twitter. I want to thank you for those of you who are following me. That must drive the left crazy, though, right? Because that's a wonderful platform. It's a wonderful platform we have on the internet, through Facebook, through Twitter. I mean, I know we don't like the suppression of conservative voices on those platforms, but they're where the people are. And we're now able to educate millions and millions of people, not only here in the United States, but worldwide, that we otherwise would never have been able to do prior to the internet age. Judicial Watch has 1.6 million followers on Twitter. On Facebook, I think we have 6 million followers on Facebook. It's incredible. So sometimes if we send out tweets or send out Facebook posts, more people will see our material than people who are watching the news that day on some of the major networks. That's why they want to shut us down. They don't want to shut us down because we're losing. They want to shut us down because we're winning. If we weren't successful, they wouldn't care. I mean, that's the irony of this. And I know it's kind of one way to, I know you sometimes think I'm Debbie Downer here, But when I talk about the assault on the Republic, when I talk about the assault on President Trump, when I talk about the assault on conservatives online, the attack on our free speech rights, you have to understand the left is always happy to follow the rules when they're winning. When they're winning. But when they're losing, those rules go out the window. Rioting, threats of violence, intimidation, coups, illegal spying, censorship of conservative voices online. That's liberal tyranny that's thinks it's losing. President Trump has pushed back. He signed an executive order that laid out these issues, and I encourage you to go and review the executive order because I think it's on point. I'm not quite sure what the legal consequences are going to be. There's something called Section 230 of the federal law. And this law essentially provides liability protection for platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and other big media companies from being held liable for what's appearing on their website or their platforms. So and it means that they're able also to sometimes take down material that is really that everyone agrees can be taken down, something that's violent or something targeting children, pornographic material, things like that. But they're not liable for, Tom Fitton going up there and saying, Barack Obama is the worst president in the history of the world. They're, quote, not the publisher. They're just the bulletin board. Well, the president has pointed out in this executive order that doesn't really hold water anymore, that analysis. If you start censoring and suppressing political speech and putting your thumb on the scales in favor of political arguments, you are essentially becoming a publisher. You're saying, no, we get to decide what speech goes up here beyond the speech that really isn't speech, promoting violence and pornography and things like that. That's not speech. That's not protected speech, at least. But the sort of protected speech the president engages in, that I engage in, that you, if you're an activist online or just a regular citizen, posts their point of view from time to time, when they suppress you, that's not someone acting as the neutral provider of, quote, a bulletin board. That's a publisher. They're acting like a newspaper. They're acting like any other company that has final say as to what appears on their platform. Now, does that mean the government can, quote, regulate them in an improper way? No. But it does mean that they can be held accountable for the decision-making they engage in. And when they say they're doing things neutrally, and the president's pointing out that they're being deceptive when they do that, and that should be investigated as well. I think there's a legal argument ultimately. Some public spaces like airports and malls have been, sometimes for purposes of speech, been treated as quasi-public spaces in the sense that they can't restrict speech in a way that another private property owner can. Because of the public square nature of a mall or an airport or a place like that. Now, that hasn't been applied yet. I think it's been rejected specifically on some of these internet platforms, but I think that's going to change. Twitter is now anti-Trump and is now promoting an unlawful scheme by the governor of California to mail ballots to people and pretending and is falsifying information about the way that law is going to work or that scheme's going to work. So a major issue for free speech and censorship. And I've pointed out before how YouTube took down a video of ours, and I think the same rule is for Facebook, that mentioned the name of the alleged whistleblower. I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want this video to get taken down. Twitter didn't do it, but the position of YouTube and Facebook is that whistleblower's name can't be mentioned. You remember the whistleblower who conspired with who supposedly conspired with Adam Schiff on the Ukraine call? Can't mention his name. I'll get tweeted. I'll get censored. So our republic remains under attack. I just don't think it's under attack from the government. It's under attack from the private sector. In the case of the whistleblower, they're doing the dirty work for people like Schiff.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.